A pillar of fire descends through the darkening clouds, casting a glow over the churning Atlantic. A cylinder of aerospace-grade aluminum, scorched by the friction of re-entry, fights against the relentless pull of gravity. For decades, the greatest minds in physics agreed on one fundamental truth: what goes up stays up, or it falls back to Earth as twisted wreckage. But then, the landing legs deployed with a hiss. The Merlin engines throttled down with precision, and the booster touched the deck of a drone ship with the delicacy of a feather. In that silence, after the engines cut, the old space era died. We transitioned from a period of monumental waste to a future defined by high-frequency access. This isn't just an engineering trick. It represents the destruction of a 60-year-old paradigm that kept humanity tethered to a single planet through sheer expense. Today, SpaceX is no longer a struggling startup. It is the primary gateway to the stars, launching more payload into orbit than all other nations and agencies on Earth combined. The gap between SpaceX and legacy national space agencies is widening every single month. This is no longer a simple competition. It is a structural shift in how our species interacts with the vacuum of orbit. Elon Musk's Falcon 9 has become the world's most reliable vehicle, turning what used to be a rare national event into a routine weekly occurrence. It is a relentless machine of progress that refuses to slow down for anyone. The Falcon 9 moved from a risky experiment into a relentless, reusable machine. Before this, the industry was dominated by legacy aerospace giants like Boeing and Arianespace. These organizations operated on a cost-plus basis with very little incentive to innovate. Musk understood that to make life multiplanetary, the cost of the bridge to the stars had to plummet by several orders of magnitude. The Falcon 9 wasn't just built to fly, it was built to return, be refurbished, and fly again. This philosophy challenged an industry that had grown comfortable with the slow, expensive traditions of the 20th century. Rockets used to be billion-dollar pieces of high-tech trash. Imagine building an airliner, flying it once, and crashing it into the ocean. That was the standard operating procedure for NASA and every other agency for 40 years. We built them once and threw the most expensive components into the sea. That era of disposable technology ended with the first successful landing. Now, throwing away a rocket seems as archaic and wasteful as discarding a massive cargo ship after a single crossing of the Atlantic. What people miss while watching the smoke and fire is the logistics, the rapid refurbishment cycle that turned a space program into a high-speed conveyor belt. It's not just the flight, it's the drone ships and engineers who shortened the time between missions from months to days. While competitors build from scratch, SpaceX refuels a booster that has already flown 20 times. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. This incredible efficiency is the economic foundation for a new age of human endeavor. We are moving from the exploration era to the industrial era of orbit. Space is no longer just for scientists. It is a frontier for industry. By lowering the cost to reach low Earth orbit, SpaceX has opened the floodgates for new business models. This involves orbital manufacturing, medicine, and global communication on a scale never imagined. The Falcon 9 is the workhorse of this reality, providing the first affordable path to a permanent presence beyond our atmosphere. However, landing the rocket was just the beginning. The real revolution isn't where the rocket lands, it's what it's putting into the sky while everyone is distracted by the landing. While the world watches the booster return, dozens of satellites are being deployed into the darkness. These machines form a digital blanket that will change the global economy. The Falcon 9 is the bridge, but the cargo is the prize. The story of the next decade is about who owns the infrastructure we build once we are there. To understand the true scale of this shift, one must look at the sheer numbers that define the current landscape. In 2024, the launch cadence reached a rhythmic pulse, occurring every 2.8 days. This isn't merely an improvement in engineering efficiency, it is a strategic blockade. By launching at such a relentless pace, SpaceX has effectively seized control of the available launch windows and logistical resources. While other companies and national agencies struggle to coordinate 1 or 2 major missions a year, the Falcon 9 is ascending twice a week. This frequency creates a barrier to entry that is nearly impossible for any competitor to overcome. They are occupying the track so thoroughly that nobody else can find a lane. Central to this dominance is the fact that the Falcon 9's most frequent and reliable customer is SpaceX itself. The Starlink project is the engine driving this unprecedented volume. By deploying thousands of small satellites, SpaceX is weaving a digital blanket around the planet, promising high-speed internet to every corner of the globe. This is a strategic and financial masterstroke. By owning both the rocket and the satellite, Elon Musk has created a closed-loop economy. Every successful launch strengthens a global telecommunications network that generates the cash flow needed to fund even more ambitious projects. No other company possesses this level of vertical synergy. While competitors pay retail prices for a ride to orbit, SpaceX essentially provides itself with a subsidized ticket to a monopoly. This cycle creates an insurmountable lead in real-world data. While legacy aerospace giants like Boeing and Arianespace are still debating theoretical blueprints and arguing over government contracts, SpaceX is collecting hard data from hundreds of successful recoveries. Every time a booster returns to the drone ship, it brings back a wealth of information about thermal stress, structural fatigue, and engine performance. They do not have to guess how a component will behave after its 10th flight because they have already seen it happen in the harsh reality. This constant feedback loop means that every single flight literally makes the next one cheaper and safer. It is an evolutionary process where the slowest are left in the dust. The engine room of this revolution is a hidden system of radical vertical integration. In their California facilities, SpaceX has systematically eliminated the middleman in the traditional model used for 40 years. Hundreds of subcontractors would build individual pieces, leading to massive delays and ballooning costs. SpaceX changed the rules entirely. They build their own Merlin engines, write their own proprietary flight software, and even manufacture their own payload fairings in-house. By keeping everything under one roof, they iterate in days what used to take years. This internal control allows for a speed of innovation that leaves legacy firms paralyzed by their own bureaucracy. This leads to a fundamental misunderstanding of what SpaceX actually is. Most people see them as a rocket company, but that is a limited perspective. In reality, SpaceX is an infrastructure company. They own the only reliable high-capacity bridge to the orbital job site. If you want to participate in the future of the space economy, you have to pay the toll at their gate. This has destroyed legacy profit margins. When launch costs drop by 90%, the old guard's business model evaporates. They are left holding the bill for expensive disposable technology in a reusable world. However, this rapid expansion brings a growing microtension to the fore. The sheer density of objects in low Earth orbit is reaching a critical mass. Astronomers complain of light pollution, but a more dangerous threat looms known as the Kessler syndrome. This is the nightmare scenario where a single collision creates a cascade of debris, turning the region around Earth into a lethal, impassable graveyard of shrapnel. No one expected this speed, and the international community is now scrambling to regulate a congested highway. The speed of the Falcon 9 has brought us to the stars, but has also brought us to a new environmental crisis. The financial markets are now forced to reckon with this physical dominance. Talk of a potential $2 trillion initial public offering for SpaceX or a spin-off of Starlink is no longer mere speculation. It represents the birth of an entirely new asset class, the orbital economy. This is a profound shift in how wealth is generated. Telecommunications and aerospace are being absorbed into a single, vertically integrated machine. The scale of this valuation reflects more than just a company's worth. It signifies a massive realignment of global capital. Investors are moving away from traditional infrastructure on the ground and betting on the infrastructure in the sky. By redefining the cost of entry, this new economy is poised to transform terrestrial life in ways we are only beginning to comprehend today. This financial surge is causing a seismic disruption across multiple industries. Traditional telecommunications companies suddenly find their business models threatened by a constellation of satellites that provides connectivity to any point on the planet without the need for terrestrial hardware. Defense systems, once the exclusive domain of national governments and massive contractors like Boeing and Arianespace, are being forced to adapt. The Falcon 9 has made it possible to deploy surveillance and communication assets so rapidly and cheaply that the old cycles of military procurement are becoming obsolete. The speed of the private sector has outpaced strategic planning of the state. This is a direct challenge to the old guard. This brings us to the intersection of innovation and raw power. When a single private entity controls the primary access to space, it effectively gains control over the global flow of information. Starlink has demonstrated its strategic importance in modern conflicts. This is no longer just about commercial success. It is about geopolitical leverage. The ability to launch, replace, and expand a satellite network at will gives SpaceX a level of influence once reserved for superpowers. The line between a private corporation and a sovereign entity is beginning to blur as the company takes on roles in national security that were previously the sole responsibility of governments. While the Falcon 9 continues its relentless work as the primary workhorse, it is ultimately serving as the foundation for something even more disruptive. The profits and data gathered from every successful Falcon 9 landing are being funneled directly into the development of Starship. If the Falcon 9 revolutionized space by making it accessible, Starship is designed to make it habitable. We are watching a transition from orbital missions to true colonization. The bridge that the Falcon 9 built is now being upgraded into a highway. This successor vehicle aims to carry massive payloads and hundreds of people, changing our relationship with the solar system. This brings us to an unsettling realization about the nature of modern progress. For the first time in human history, a private company possesses more capability and power in the domain of space than the governments that originally funded the technology. NASA, once the undisputed leader of the space race, now relies on SpaceX to transport its astronauts and resupply its stations. This power shift is unprecedented. It raises fundamental questions about accountability. When the path to the stars is managed by a single corporate entity, the traditional checks and balances of public policy and international law are increasingly difficult to apply. The true curiosity lies in what happens next when the bridge to the stars is held in private hands. We have moved from a world where space was a shared human aspiration to one where it is a commercial and strategic asset. The question for the coming decades is no longer how far we can go into the cosmos. Our technology has already answered that. The question is who will control the path once we arrive. As the Falcon 9 descends, landing with the practiced precision of a machine that has done this hundreds of times, the answer becomes more inevitable. The future is being written on a launch pad, and the pen is held by those who built the bridge.